Greetings, welcome to the SciFi Pubcast, the podcast that tries to be a pub, and perhaps someday a pub that tries to be a podcast. And as always, we are looking for customers to come visit our bars. So if you're passionate about something, want to be on a podcast, well, let us know. This bar is all about community. If you want to help us out, please consider leaving a 5-star review wherever you find the show, joining our Discord server, and subscribing to our YouTube channel. I'm Joel. I'm the owner of the SciFi Pubcast, so to speak, and today we have our two dedicated regular staff members. We have Carrie Simpson and Derek Beebe. How are you guys? How's things?
Hey.
Hello.
Hey.
Apparently, I've just stepped into a war zone. Earlier, there's a war zone going on outside my apartment. I don't know. There have been a lot of sirens going that way.
Oh, really? My landlord just got 2 kittens, and they sometimes have these battle royales, so that's what's happening on my end. Yeah.
Fun times.
Absolutely. So besides the whole, fire truck thing happening in where you live, Carrie, how's life in Southern California?
Not quite as hot as it could be as it is elsewhere, and it's kind of sort of starting to cool off. It's only supposed to get up to 90 today, which is better than 97, yes, like it was yesterday.
So I'm thinking, up here in Canada, the rich people who could afford it, they have these, saunas, right? Okay, these hot water, things, right? Whirlpools, right? Okay. Perhaps now they should get like the opposite version. It will like really,
ice baths.
Ice baths that will, really freeze up your limbs and all that good stuff, right? What do you think? Like shocks the system, like the polar bear express thing.
Well, maybe. I mean, there's always a chance that you could go into hypothermia, which could be preferable depending on how hot it gets. But
just think. I'm trying to think outside the box.
Just don't get too cold. You go into suspended animation.
Yeah.
Speaking of,
All right.
That could be a problem.
Yeah. Watch out for that.
Or not.
Or not. Your call. Speaking of which, before I forget, our dear friend Dr. Randall Graham has sent his regrets yet again, and we love you, Randall, but he's been very busy with work and with some family stuff over the summer. So we look forward for him to come back on the show soon and to bring his wits and humor to the conversation sometime in the near future, maybe the far future, depending on how this show goes. So I should add that it's possible Randall has been frozen, some sort of cryogenic thing, but it's probably just his head. I'm not sure about his body.
So it's not about the rumored $1,000 appearance fee we're not paying?
Yeah, let's not talk about it. Let's not mention lawyers or contracts.
Let's not give Randall or his head any ideas.
Oh God. That would make sense. Yeah, I know that the whole rumor was that Walt Disney himself actually had his head frozen, but of course that's bogus. But I can see Randall doing that eventually in the future.
Well, so ironically, when they were building the animation studio building over in Burbank, they dug pretty deep into they were digging pretty deep for foundations and parking structures and such, and there was a running joke that they were actually going to relocate Walt's frozen corpse underneath the building or something like that.
See,
so
that would be a movie I want to see right there. Yes. And and if the sequel can star Randall Graham, that'd be great too. So there's that. Derek, what's new in your life, man? Tell the world.
I'm very sad because this is the last day of my vacation week. I was supposed to have gone to Disney World, but of course COVID happened all over again and I had to cancel that. So instead we went to the Capitol at DC, which I've never been to before, and it was pretty good, pretty fun time. The unexpected highlight of the trip was we rented these electric scooters to get around on, and it was so much fun. They only topped out at 15 miles per hour, but it was so cool because you use an app on your phone. They're just lying all over the city, and you just walk up to one of the bikes lying around, you tap your phone to it and activate the bike, and then you can drive around for, I think it was 50 cents a minute. And we went all up and down the Smithsonian Mall with it. It was so much fun.
That's fantastic. I know they have them in Ottawa because I never used it, but before I moved back to London, Ontario, yeah, people were talking about it and trying it and enjoying themselves at it. It was quite fun to watch from the patio, of course.
Oh yeah, they have. I don't know if they're electric, but they have bikes and scooters all over LA now. Is like kind of a encouragement to get people to not use their cars.
Yeah.
Because climate change and some such stuff.
Yeah, it's the world we live in. And Derek, didn't he go to some sort of fair like yesterday or the day before?
I went to the New York Renaissance Fair yesterday.
Oh, yes. How was that?
It was good. It was the perfect temperature, 72 and cloudy. Ooh, it was nice because it was supposed to rain, but then the forecast changed. But yeah, it was a great time. It's really amazing how vast those complexes are and how many people are there and how many shops and shows they have going on for something that only exists for, a couple months out of the year.
Yeah, it never gets old.
Mm-hmm.
Do you guys have those in Canada?
Not in my part of Canada, I know of. There's clubs who are into this stuff, but in terms of wide-scale, large organization, I don't think so.
Because apparently they're all across America, because we were looking up and they're in Florida and Texas and Minnesota and New York. And
you guys are right.
Oh yeah, Southern and Northern Ren Fair have been like a staple in California. I think Southern's kind of slowly dying out. Some of my more plugged in friends could probably tell me, but Northern I think is still going, or was pre-pandemic. I don't know what's going on with it now.
You guys are done right medieval. Okay. All right. I got to ask this, and I forgot to ask you this last episode. Derek, we're a pub, right? So
allegedly.
Yeah. So how's our kitchen doing?
It's not as clean as it was before when that other guy was there for a while, but it's still pretty safe to inhabit without a mask on, a gas mask, I mean. And for this week, I guess I'm going to call them Piggly Wigglies. I didn't really know what else to call them, but you know how when you get frozen, the first thing to fall off are your little toes? So for our themed meal of the day, I figured I'd make little frozen toes to eat. And I got like pork, because, they say that humans taste like pork, long pork. So I got little pork rolls and made a little toe shape. And then I got a little bit of a white Necco wafer for the toe bone in the middle. And then for the toenail, I found this novelty shop that sells edible things, and they had edible toenails. And let me tell you something, if you ever want to get something that looks like it's part of a human that's edible, like there's places for that. If it's something that's on a body, you can put it in your mouth there.
I need a drink.
I did not show up to this episode with alcohol. I'm slightly regretting this decision.
Oh, well, let's just move on because I got nothing to add there. Derek's just killing it. So, let's just move. Okay. My update. Let's see. I'm about to start my PhD on campus like in a week and a half time. I've been spending a lot of time on campus at the grad club on the patio, actually reading legal philosophy and drinking red wine. I would say mostly drinking red wine, but actually I'm mostly reading about legal philosophy. Yeah, life sucks sometimes. What else? I'm really grooving this Disney Plus Marvel show, What If? I've only seen the first 3 episodes.
Oh yeah, that's awesome. That show's awesome.
Like the writing into it and the animation, I'm very, very impressed with that.
Mm-hmm.
We need our own version of What If for the SciFi Pubcast. Maybe sometime in the distant future.
What you mean? What if like Derek actually made edible food?
Oh! What if I never hired Derek in the first place? Okay.
Oh. Huh.
So is every what if going to be a zing against Derek, or?
I mean, you just leave yourself open to it.
There's that. What else? I've been reading John Scalzi's Old Man War series. I'm on book 5. It's quite a great, good series. I'm enjoying it for science fiction.
I love that show.
Yeah. So there's that. But we're not here to talk about, Ren fairs and my drinking red wine on a patio or, Derek lack of a job at the kitchen. What we're talking about is, of course, the literary device of suspended animation in science fiction. So please don't fall asleep on us, listener, or customer, or Derek. Derek, wake up, man. Wake up. So, I came up with this because this idea of a suspended animation I think is quite an interesting plot device, a literary device that hasn't been used all that much. Well, I think it's used like every 10 years, thereabouts, right? So it's kind of like it's in the toolbox, and sometimes writers they bring it back out. So let me just go off for a bit before we talk about this in a conversation. But this idea of falling asleep and waking up sometime in the future is not new. It's been around in folklore and fairy tales for a long time. Just think Sleeping Beauty. So there's that. Mm-hmm. Also a Disney movie. Yeah, there's that. But even I go back to American literature, Washington Irvine in 1819 created the character Rip Van Winkle. So, imagine waking up 20 years in the future. So usually it's caused by some sort of magical enchantment. The elves are usually to blame or something like that. But then fast forward to science fiction, and it's through technology of some type that people can fall asleep. Or it could be like radioactive gas in the say Buck Rogers, in the original Buck Rogers.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead. It's kind of like the ultimate, for lack of a better term, like Jesus take the wheel type thing. Whereas like you're like, especially if you're doing it intentionally, it's like you are pretty much trusting that there's going to be someone to wake you up at some point.
Yeah.
And that is just a whoa. Like I don't know. I don't mind giving up control on when I'm training and stuff, but that's just like a degree of loss of control that I'm just like okay.
Yeah, but it's like mountain climbing or rock climbing or scuba.
That's true.
Scuba diving. You have to trust the equipment. So,
yeah.
Right. And if you don't trust the equipment, well, you're not going to perform. But you're right. This is a biggie. Going to sleep we can all die in our sleep. It's probably the best way to go, anyways. We're all going to die, but hopefully not in 1,000 years' time after being asleep for that long.
Yeah. And is it intentional that it's 1,000 years, or was it only supposed to be a couple, like 20 years, and oops, the ship got lost?
Well, that's the thing. You have these sleeper ships so that we can get to interstellar space, to a different star. That takes generations to get there.
Mm-hmm.
And instead of having people have babies and reproduce on the ship, they just put them to sleep. You see this in the Alien movies all the time, and other series use that as a way. The sleeper ship.
Yeah,
but of course, yeah.
Yeah, like Passengers, or even Fifth Element. They put you to sleep until they get to your destination.
Yeah, and then
I forgot about that.
Bad things generally happen. Yeah.
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 Also in Avatar, they use suspended animation to get people from Earth to Pandora.
Yeah. I think they should start using it to get for people from, say, Toronto to, say, Los Angeles by train or something like that. It takes so long, or driving. I know.
It's only a day.
Well, from Toronto, no, it's actually by train. It's probably a week. Okay.
Okay, maybe a week. But that's because we don't have high-speed rail over here.
Oh, well, we don't have that in Canada either. Okay.
When I said over here, I meant on this continent. Unlike China.
Yeah. With me being a dual Canadian U.S. citizen, I kind of just look at things like North America, but that's not my own personal bias. Derek, what's your first impressions about the suspended animation business?
My first thought was Fry on Futurama, followed by Dave Lister on Red Dwarf, followed by Alien. But yeah, I mean, I don't really have any strong opinions on it. It's an obvious narrative technique. It's probably going to be the way early space travel will be conducted, because until we come up with FTL technology, if you want to get to another inhabitable planet, it's going to be several years. And not only would it be a logistical nightmare to try to feed someone for that long journey, you would also possibly go insane with cabin fever if you were trapped in a ship that takes 5 or 10 years going to nowhere, unless it was a very, very large ship with a lot of entertainment options. But yeah, I would say that if you're going to be making a multi-year journey like that, the best thing to do would just be to freeze yourself. And of course, that has huge social implications, because you're basically dying as far as the people back home are concerned, because they're never going to see you again. You're never going to see your family or your loved ones. So you're choosing to end one life and begin another one somewhere else and never see those people again.
That's a great point. Before we get to that, let me ask you this. If you're on the ship and with cabin fever, do you think a bar will help? Would a bar solve all that? A place that people, your shipmates could go and have a drink and talk about the issues of the day?
That depends on whether a mysterious bartender just kind of manifests out of nowhere and starts giving you drinks and telling you to kill people.
Oh yeah, that'd be bad.
Oh
yeah. Let's not talk about that. Yeah. So there's that. Yeah, it's a choice, and we're talking about consensual suspended animation, and we'll get to this whole non-consensual business in a minute. But why would people choose to go under suspended animation? Well, to get to a destination is the obvious example. But it could be like a last chance resort thing, because you lost a war, or you're going to die. So there's a necessity to try to basically suspend yourself in animation until to wait this thing out, whatever crisis it is.
And some people just want to escape their current life and find something new, kind of like people journeying to the New World or going on a long ocean journey back in the day.
Yeah,
or if you have like some kind of like incurable disease that you want to sleep through until they figure out a way to cure you.
But then there's always the risk of waking up and you have an android conducting genetic research on you and experiments. Yeah, that'd be bad. Yeah.
Or the ship gets knocked off course and you don't you aren't found for 500 years or something like that.
Yeah.
Or maybe somebody just wanted to wait out this whole reality TV craze.
Yeah, or COVID. I always thought to myself, why can't I just fall asleep at night and I wake up the next morning and COVID will be gone and we can.
Or the environmental crisis.
Yeah.
Well, if you wait on that, you're going to wake up underwater.
All right.
Yeah.
And will the Buffalo Bills ever win a Super Bowl? Who knows? But you see this in science fiction a lot. Star Trek used this device as this literary device a lot. Most obviously, well, not most obviously, the one that comes up in my mind in terms of someone who had to go to sleep is a whole people in Star Trek Voyager Season 6, Episode 7, Dragon's Teeth, when you have this military race who lost a war badly, and their planet got nuked basically, and they decided to hibernate in the cave, so to speak, to wait for another day to continue on the fight.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's my one issue with doing this episode. You made me watch Voyager episodes for it.
So what do you think of that episode?
What's wrong with Voyager?
Nah, I kid. It's not my favorite Trek, but Dragon's Teeth was a pretty good episode. I did think it was hilarious that the aliens just look like massive cobras with like big flared out necks and like huge heads. But yeah, it was a pretty good episode. It was a cool premise, a neat little mystery. It was good.
Yeah, and of course you have the Greek reference, right, with Dragon's Teeth, in the sense that Jason and the Argonauts, and you have all these skeletons popping up, right? Yeah. Like imagine if the Ninth Roman Legion out of Scotland, which disappeared in whatever times it was it 280 something like that, and if they suddenly reappear in current day Scotland, wouldn't that be hilarious? Yeah, don't know about the time. I'm not sure when they disappeared. Sorry, I'm not going to check it out. But it was after the conquest of Britannia by Julius Caesar. I know that. And what else? There's also another Voyager episode, season 2, episode 23, the Thaw. What do you guys make of that one?
I don't remember this one very at all, really, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's the whole thing. The crew of the Voyager finds a bunch of aliens that's been, they're in hibernation pods. This is a really cool episode because it starred Michael McKean, and this is kind of like the crazy circus.
Oh, right. This is like the circus one.
Yes.
Wasn't it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, they had Cirque du Soleil performers in the background, and the whole thing looked very original series.
Yeah, which is another reason why I liked this episode a lot. Besides Michael McKean's acting, it was fabulous. And if you know Michael McKean, it's Better Call Saul. That's his latest, or at least that's what I knew him latest from. So
he's the Witchfinder General in Good Omens.
oh, all right, yeah.
Yeah.
Or
I haven't seen that in forever.
I don't. Is it the general or he's the chief witchfinder?
Yeah.
But that episode raises an interesting danger of suspended animation. What if the artificial intelligence in charge of keeping watch of you goes insane and keeps you as a tortured victim for its own amusement?
Have you been reading 2001: A Space Odyssey and the later books,
or watching The Matrix? I mean, isn't that kind of? I mean, yeah, that is kind of sort of what the Matrix is doing. It's kind of just it's keeping the human bodies alive in suspended animation while trying to entertain our brains because apparently we need to always be entertained.
Yeah, and I can see that, right? It's the law of, what is it, entropy? You have to keep on moving, right?
Yeah.
That's how you deal with depression and mental health issues, is that I always try to do stuff, right? And that by doing that, it creates opportunity. So stay positive, kids. And there's that. Before we leave Star Trek, there's, of course, the Next Generation episode, Season 1, Episode 26, The Neutral Zone, where I think the Romulans kind of poo-poo this entire notion of suspended animation.
Well, apparently not everyone that they thought out was there voluntarily. There were a couple. There was at least one character that was basically her husband put her into the pod because he wanted to try and find a cure for her. That worked out well.
Yeah, very lost in space, right?
Yeah.
Which is another example of science fiction using suspended animation. Of course, there's a question that if you are aboard a Starfleet ship and you come across people who are in these hibernation pods, right? Do you think, is it generally a good idea to wake them up? Like, what could possibly go wrong?
Famous last words.
Well,
I mean, if it's like the last three people and the ship is clearly failing, I mean, it is kind of the humanitarian thing to do. It's like, what could go wrong? Well, lots of stuff, but
Well,
I would say you have a moral obligation to wake someone up if you find them sitting in a long-term cryosleep, no matter what the dangers are involved.
Just hope they aren't genetically altered to be superior humans bent on global or galactic domination.
I would definitely check for a warning label on the side before opening it, but
some sort of caveat or something like that. But
maybe convert one of the shuttle bays into a medical brig or something.
Yeah. Well, at least do a Google check on the guy's name, right?
Yeah.
Because reminds me, Star Trek, the original series, season 1, episode 22. Khan. Khan? Khan Noonien Singh?
Noonien Singh.
Noonien Singh.
Sounds like a nice guy.
Sure.
No, God. He's my favorite villain of the Star Trek universe. Wrath of Khan, Star Trek number 2, is my favorite Star Trek movie of all time. Yes, if there's one lesson to be learned, is that you don't wake Khan up. Period. Okay?
No.
No. That's a bad idea. Let him sleep.
No.
Let him sleep.
Waking Khan up is never a good idea.
Oh, wow. And what else is, of course, changing IPs is that Demolition Man, there's only one. Yeah, this is from left field, but when bad guys wake up and society can't deal with it, and luckily there's a ex-cop played by Sylvester Stallone who was suspended himself because of a misunderstanding, let's so to speak, that way, and so you have an entire movie out of it.
But they at least had, going back to this, this whole concept of, the Matrix and keeping the brain active. Like they Demolition Man at least had this idea where, they're in suspended animation, but they start downloading knowledge and skills into the inmates' brains so that they can, when they come out of cryo sleep, eventually they can have some kind of useful skill or know how to make sweaters. I don't know.
Yeah,
I haven't seen that movie in a long time, but wasn't it to rehabilitate them and make them into non-violent people?
Yeah, there's
because Diddy is associated with non-violence. I mean, come on. I mean, Tale of Two Cities, Ben Defarge, knitted her kill list into scarves.
Yeah, I think with Demolition Man, it gave nods to Brave New World and H.G. Wells' The Sleeper Awakes, right? And my question is that, great, if you can be better at some sort of skill, more than likely that task will be done by robots in the future. That's not very helpful. But
I would just want them to download, working knowledge of various languages into my brain while I'm asleep. If I could come out of suspended animation speaking fluent Japanese and, I don't know, Vulcan, that would be cool.
I'd be happy if they download every single book that Isaac Asimov ever written so I can read it when I'm asleep. Yeah, because I'm not going to get around to it in this lifetime. There's way too many books that guy wrote. Way too many.
I do like the idea of using suspended animation not as a punishment, but as a way to rehabilitate criminals. I think that's a cool idea, and that's something that, I mean, there's kind of moral implications about it, but I think that's potentially a good idea. It's also better than just like locking them in a cell and having them being miserable and getting in fights with one another and stuff.
So you create a burden on the existing society to take care of these people, and you put the burden onto generations afterwards to take care of these people. And at some point down the road, they'll wake up, and they're likely going to be a problem for whatever generation of people down there. So we're passing the buck to our great grandkids, so to speak.
That's the American way.
that also assumes that there are people are kept around to know how to maintain the technology, and one would hope upgrade the technology as better forms, better operating systems come online, so that we're not as with apparently some branches of the U.S. military dealing with DOS.
Yes. I like the idea, and this is a bit of an aside for prisoners, the whole escape from New York business, right? Have a zone where they can go and have their own little colony. What do you think? Is that more humane?
No.
No.
Oh God, there's that. But there's other ways that suspended animation is used, right? So let's see. Wayward Pines. It was a TV show, lasted 2 seasons before it was canceled back maybe, 8 years ago. And it was based on the Wayward Pines trilogy, written by Blake Coach, which is Pines, Wayward, and Last Town. I thought the first season was amazing. I thought the second season was okay, and I wanted a third season. And this is the idea that things are going seriously wrong in our society. There's some sort of aberration in our DNA code, and things are going to turn really bad. So you have an eccentric billionaire who decided that the best way to get over that is by having a select group of people put into suspended animation. So when they wake up, everything will be fine because the rest of humanity will be dead. Now the twist is, of course, and spoiler alert, light spoilers that is that most of these people who got put in suspended animation didn't know about this, and they got kidnapped, and so it's against their will because they cannot consent because they know about it. So imagine if suddenly you're walking, to the corner store to pick up a Slurpee, and suddenly a van pulls up, grabs you, puts a hood over your head, and then the next thing you remember is that you wake up and it's like 3,000 years in the future. Wouldn't that suck?
Oh yeah.
Like the Slurpee is going to be completely wasted by then.
Very melted. Unless you had it with you in the cryotube, then it might be good as new.
Exactly. So
I gotta say, Joel, your pick of Wayward Pines makes a lot more sense now, because I never saw that show, and I thought it was about werewolves in like a small Pacific town or something like that, and I was like, what does that have to do with
No, because humanity basically de-evolved, right? And they created a lot of questions. In some way, they evolved further, right? So it plays with the idea of evolution. Because what we think is evolution now, in the future, who knows how humanity is going to look, and we might be a guess of what we see because evolution moves so slowly.
So no werewolves then?
And not really werewolves, but yeah, that was neat. I want to read the books, actually. The TV show got me intrigued enough that someday I'll read the books.
Right after you finish the Asimovs.
Yeah, exactly. And the John Scalzi's and the 2001, 4 or 5 books with that. Yeah, someday. I'm working on it.
Yeah.
It's not like I'm frozen carbonite.
Yeah.
Oh, wait. Yeah, that's an interesting... Yeah, so Star Wars, Empire Strikes Back, Han Solo, Frozen Carbonite. Do you guys think this is a form of suspended animation?
Yeah.
Apparently. I mean, according to the readouts on Han's little block of ice there.
Yeah, which is an interesting way to use this literary device, because it's not like Han is frozen carbonite because he's going to the next star over the next solar system. He got captured by Boba Fett. It's a way to temporarily put them in basically in a lockdown. Cold storage, right? In order, in the short term. I think
it's also a way to put the character in limbo in case the actor doesn't come back for the third film.
That's true. This is also true. But also, I just love how it becomes retroactively just a way to transport people that you don't want running loose on your ship.
Well, they had 5 years to perfect it,
Well, no, it's like because Empire Strikes Back makes it sound like this is something that Vader just hit upon as an idea that he could use to, get Luke over to the Emperor without him causing problems along the way. But, but sometime after Empire Strikes Back, this becomes like a prime method of transporting bounties all over the galaxy. You see it in SWTOR, you see it in The Mandalorian, you see it in the old Legends books. It's a form of punishment. They just, freeze dissenters in carbonite and hang them on a wall somewhere. And
Yeah.
They're both punished and become decorative items all at the same time.
Found art.
Yes.
Yes. It's in real art. It's not digital. Yeah. Yeah, I think it was a good use of this literary device. It's neat. I'm a huge Star Wars guy, so it's like, yeah, that's definitely up there on my suspended animation example list. But just thinking about it, let's go back to Buck Rogers because really it started with him in terms of science fiction, right? Buck Rogers. He's almost 100 years old now, like in real life. Like it was the first time he was published was in 1928. He was created by Philip Francis Nolan, right? In Amazing Stories magazine. And a novella, no less, called Armageddon 2419 AD. And some sort of, he got suspended for like 500 years because he breathed in some sort of radioactive gas in some mine in Pennsylvania. Actually, where Derek's live, that part of Pennsylvania. I'm not making this up. Look it up, okay? So, yeah.
I didn't know that. I've never seen Buck Rogers.
Yeah. Oh, you ever seen the reboots from like 79, 80? Oh, that affected my childhood. I'm still in love with what's her name? Gray.
Erin Gray?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I'm too young for that one.
Oh, God. Great. So, yeah, Buck Rogers is kind of like the granddaddy of Star Wars and suspended animation. Yeah.
Oh, fun fact! They used the Bonaventure Hotel over here as like a filming location.
Oh yeah.
Which is, I think it's been torn down since then. I don't remember. I don't. Oh, hold on. I was looking up something else on Buck Rogers and I just found it. No, the Bonaventure is still around. But it's this really cool building where it's like 5 like cylindrical towers all linked together by elevators and such.
Cool. I know with the reboot of the TV series from like what's the year? 79, 80? I can look this up.
It's 1980, I think. 79.
Yeah.
79 to 81.
So Buck Rogers is no longer like a engineer type. He's actually an astronaut, and he got put in suspended animation. Bad things happen, right? And
he was apparently they were like testing. They were testing some kind of rocket, and things happened, and I don't remember the exact things, but it's kind of along the lines of like Farscape, where it's like, he goes through some kind of anomaly and instead of waking up on the other side of the galaxy, he wakes up, in the 25th century.
Yeah. Wow, Rocket Man, excellent.
Yeah.
There's also Andy Weir's latest book, Project Hail Mary, which I've read, and I'm not going to spoil it. That's his third book. So Andy Weir is the guy who wrote The Martian. But he, one of the many devices he used in the book for a plot device and for character development purposes was suspended animation. I highly recommend reading the book Project Hail Mary. It came out a couple months ago. Definitely worth the read. And,
I've not read that.
And Andy Weir is he's known for being as best in terms of providing a story with scientific accuracy as possible. Sometimes he gets it wrong, sometimes he's speculating, but a lot of it is actually plausible, at least in theory. So definitely check out that book.
Cool.
Yeah. It's not like we fall asleep and one day we wake up and we're surrounded by apes. Planet of the Apes. Here's another one. Boy, every 60s and 70s TV show used suspended animation.
I thought he went through a black hole.
He went through. They went through some kind of black hole or something. It's kind of sort of similar to Buck Rogers. They went through some kind of anomaly and suddenly ended up, way far in the future where the apes had taken over the planet.
Yeah, but they were in suspended animation when they went through the black hole.
Okay.
Right, and so it's still there's more than one device being used, but this idea you wake up and then the Lincoln Memorial there's a big giant ape sitting in the chair, which is of course one
Well,
of the later
that's
movies.
the Tim Burton one, which yeah, that's like the what like I get that the movie didn't do well, but come on, you gotta give us something more than that. Like,
But the suspended animation was used in the original one, The Planet of the Apes from 1968. And as noted, the other said Avatar, Interstellar used a form of that as well from the 2014 Christopher Nolan movie. Lost in Space, TV show from 65 and 68, and the remake, which was on Netflix for the last 2 years. And then there was, of course, the more comedic stuff, like the Austin Powers series. You know, Austin Powers?
Yeah.
Yes.
That's great. I want to be a frozen British intelligence spy from the 1960s and wake up in the 1990s. Yeah.
But again, that's a good example of the perils of suspended animation, because while you're frozen, someone could steal your mojo with a needle.
Oh, God, no!
Mm-hmm.
No! Yeah. No. At the top of the show, Derek, you mentioned South Park, right? So, why did you say South Park? What's your favorite aspect of it?
I said Futurama.
Sorry, you're right, Futurama. Sorry. Yeah, my part. Yeah, so what's up with Futurama? So I was thinking Futurama.
I love Futurama. It's one of my favorite shows. I think is that basically a Buck Rogers parody of him just kind of like falling asleep and waking up in the distant future?
Yeah. So he went out delivering a pizza, and then he fell into some sort of cryogenic unit, and then he woke up. How many years in the future? Yeah.
And nobody ever noticed that the wrong guy was in the tube, or like some kid just showed up in the tube.
Yeah. And I mentioned South Park because they did an episode in the second season, so season 2, episode 18, called "Prehistoric Iceman."
That was actually a really good one.
Yeah. So this idea of waking up someone like a human from 80,000 years ago, right? Okay, because there was actually a real serious film about this called Iceman from 1984.
Or Encino Man.
Which is a parody of it, a loose parody, which came out in 1992.
Yes.
I have to point out the South Park episode, it was actually someone from only 10 years in the past, and that was the joke, that he was from like 1993 and he didn't understand the world he was in anymore.
Absolutely.
and they put him like in a zoo cage with like Independence Day posters and dumb things like that.
Right. Oh God.
Well, I mean, come on. If you suddenly woke up in 2003 or even 2013, or just go 30 years into the future. You know, if they wake up 2 years from now, like there'll be some serious WTF going on here. Like,
yeah, because when I went under, America was still a democracy.
Yeah.
Imagine waking up last year, like, who's this Trump guy? Okay. Yeah, there's that. And of course, my question is, of course, if you're on a ship, you're with a bunch of people, and they all wake up around the same time, like who makes coffee? Because I need coffee to wake up, right? So I better not be the
lowest person on the social totem pole.
Oh God, there's that. Yeah, the first person up better not be. And of course, we talk about suspended animation because there's a bit of science to this in real life. Because you have frogs, you have bears, you have animals who they hibernate during the winter time, or they can hibernate for years. Some worms and insects. So, can human beings do that at some point? I don't know, but it makes for decent science fiction, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
And and this idea is that do we wake up in 10 years, 100 years, 1,000 years, 1,000,000 years? Will it make a difference? Of course it would. The sun at some point is going to expand and destroy the Earth before it dies, right? So, yeah.
Yeah, I would say I wouldn't want to wake up too far in the future to the point where my frame of reference is just completely gone. I would want to wake up in the future with something that I could vaguely understand, or I could maybe figure out how to work a computer still.
Yeah, and of course, if you wake
maybe not more than 100 years, let's say.
And when you wake up, you'll be susceptible to new diseases, which is a big thing nowadays, right? At least in
I'm sure they'll have cured everything by then.
Oh yeah, not the new
There'll
ones.
be
Right?
there will be new diseases that you'll have to worry about being exposed to.
Well, they'll have medical nanotechnology by then.
Yeah. Can it cure
What could
hangovers?
go wrong?
Yeah. Can it cure hangovers? I'm asking for a friend. No.
Oh, and just think of all the new Star Wars movies they'll have to watch.
Yeah.
They're going to eventually start making those again, right?
Sure.
All right. I just this notion of waking up and not knowing what time it is, how far in the future, both like from a Sleeping Beauty type example with magic enchantments or through science fiction technobabble, it can be scary if it's consensual, but if it's non-consensual, oh god, it's like ripping your old life from you. You have no family left. You have no friends left. Your favorite TV show is not being streamed anymore. It's
Or you do have your family left over, but they're all homicidal maniacs. See again, Space Seed.
yeah. Oh yeah. Or they've it's been so long is that you are related to humanities in some shape. Okay. Oh. Right. Any last thoughts about this really cold topic?
I have to ding you, Joel. You
Yeah.
forgot to mention the Babylon 5 episode.
Oh yeah, okay. Yeah.
Season 2, The Long Dark, about Franklin finds a cryogenic woman in a tube and he immediately tries to sleep with her.
Because that works out so well.
Yeah, because sex has changed over the years, right? I don't know. All right, yeah, I take your point. My most
Well, there was also sticking with Babylon 5, there's also that they put all the telepaths converted by the shadows in suspended animation until they could figure out a way to decouple them from the technology.
Yeah.
Or use them as living bombs.
Or it's like Superman. What does Superman do with all his villains back in the comic books, back in the original movies from the 70s?
Puts them in the Phantom Zone?
That Phantom Zone, yeah.
That's not really suspended animation. That's played them in a
that's just another
alternate dimension.
Yeah.
They can bicker over these fine points, but sure, yeah.
I should also mention there's a ton of examples from the Stargate franchise of them finding people in cryotubes and they find Atlanteans in cryotubes and that sort of thing.
Yep.
And also Doctor Who, of course. Like one of the most famous Doctor Who or old stories is Patrick Troughton, the second Doctor. His most famous story is Tomb of the Cybermen, when they discover Cybermen in cryogenic animation and they accidentally wake them up and set them amok.
This is why
the Silurians were apparently hibernating in the center of the Earth for a while too.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Joel.
You don't wake these people up. That's the entire point of science fiction. Don't wake them up. I don't care if it's Walt Disney. Don't wake him up.
Well, don't wake him up if he's a robot.
Which is, of course, never happened. It's just a myth. It's an urban legend.
Oh,
but still.
That reminds me. Artificial Intelligence, the Steven Spielberg movie. It ends with him going into suspended animation or something, and then he gets discovered years later by aliens.
Oh,
I think.
God.
Something like that.
Great. All right. Any last points? Derek, anything last to say?
It's not about suspended animation, but when I was on vacation, I found this really cool book in a used bookstore. It's a Doctor Who comic book with art by Dave Gibbons, the artist of Watchmen. Apparently back in the 70s, one of the first things he did was a weekly Doctor Who comic book strip, and it stars the Tom Baker Doctor.
Nice.
And I've been reading it, and it's really cool. It was like a monthly strip that's collected now in comic book form and color. So if you can find it, it's really cool.
Perfect. Who knew? Yeah. Carrie, you got anything?
No, I'm good.
Yeah, I'm good too. I feel like I need to get a deep sleep in before I edit the show. We'll see what happens. All right, this show's released as a podcast and on YouTube. Subscribe today and check out our Discord. Our Discord is a great way to keep up to date with all the science fiction and geek culture news you need in your life. Yeah, it's mostly news. Sometimes it's discussion, but in reality, yeah, it's mostly news. You can find our Discord server on our social media. And on social media, we're on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. I do the Twitter and Instagram accounts, and Derek does the Facebook. Hey, Derek, man, you're doing a great job.
Thank you.
What else? You can email us at management@scifipubcast.space. Our personal Twitter handles are, let's see, Carrie, what's your Twitter address?
My Twitter handle is Carrie Blackfire42. That's Keri Blackfire42.
And what other podcasts are you on?
I am on DC Talk, The Cape Chronicles, and Enter the Dojo.
Excellent.
Over on the Random Chatter Network.
Random Chatter Network. Check them out. Derek, what's your Twitter address?
I am at Derek J. Beebe.
Okay. And when Rena gets out of his deep freeze and comes back on the show, he will. You can find him on his Twitter address, which is at Reynolds_Graham. He's the writer and author of Before Life and Afterlife Crisis. Or he could be just drinking scotch with lots of ice cubes. One of those, you know. What else? My Twitter address is at Joel_Welch. It's closing time. Please take care and make it home safely. We'll see you next time. Bye now.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Music provided courtesy of Logan Rathbone. Podcast logo by Duran. Copyrighted Joe Welch. Listen responsibly. And we can't wait for your next visit to our fine establishment. Cheers.